Hello everybody, what is going on? My name is Steggy, and in this video I want to talk about the new MacBook Pros. Now, I know so many YouTubers have been talking about these computers, but they are really exciting because of the power that they hold for video editing and content creation, so it makes sense that content creators would be excited about it. So I'm one of them, and I actually just got mine in this past week. So as you can see, I got the space gray. I actually technically wanted the silver, but I accidentally ordered space gray, but it's not really a big deal. But the reason why I wanted to make this video is because there's one aspect that I saw when purchasing the Mac that honestly pushed me over the edge to buying it, and I haven't seen any other YouTuber talk about it. So I just wanted to make this video to talk about it because it might just push you over the edge if you've been considering it. So when the MacBooks were first announced, I was of course really impressed by the power that they boasted, but I wasn't exactly sold on getting it for myself. I was kind of on the fence. So I was on the Apple website, I was building out different configurations, just seeing like the prices and, all that fun stuff. But when I added one to the cart, I saw something that, I had never seen before because it's kind of a new thing that Apple offers. So basically, not only did it push me into pulling the trigger for the Mac, it also pushed me into topping out the Mac that I got. So this is the configuration that I ended up going with here. I got the 14-inch space gray that's almost completely topped out except for the hard drive, just because with my 2016, I had a 15-inch completely topped out Mac from then. I had the 1 terabyte drive on that, and I had Boot Camp on this Mac, but I would have to take it off every now and then just because space on the Mac side would get kind of full, because when you're editing multiple projects in Final Cut, because of the render files and everything, that folder can kind of balloon up pretty quickly. And so I thought that giving myself a little bit of extra headroom with the 2 terabytes would be good. I didn't want to go so crazy and get like the 8 terabyte drives like some of the YouTubers I've seen getting, just because if I go beyond 2 terabytes, I can just use a Samsung T5 or a T7 even, and I would be covered. But I think that 2 terabytes is going to cover me for a long time. And so basically the idea of this build was to future-proof my setup. So my last MacBook, the 2016 Touch Bar, 15-inch, I'd gotten topped out. I had gotten it for work, and I was using it to edit, all the Elgato videos that I was editing. And so that computer is still running. It still functions. And, there's a couple of things that are about it right now, but like this computer can run for another number of years. Because like the build is just really high quality and the specs were really great when it first came out. And so, if you kind of build out these computers and kind of get the top of the line, they remain relevant for a number of years later. So, right now I'm still just shooting 4K 30 on a Sony A7C or a Sony ZV-E10. And so, that MacBook has been more than enough for then. But thinking about the future, I wanted a computer that could not only improve my experiences with editing videos now, but also cover me well into the future for when I make not only like my next upgrade, but probably like my next two upgrades. Because one of the big aspects of the new MacBooks is that they can edit up to 30 streams, so like 30 layers of 4K ProRes 422 video, or up to 7 streams of 8K ProRes 422 video. So like right now, I might do, if I have like a composition as like my background and I do like a side by side, and I might do like some masking on top, I might top out at like 5 or 6 layers of or streams of 4K 30, maybe 4K 60 mixed in their video. And so obviously 7 streams of 8K or 30 streams of 4K is a little bit of overkill compared to what I currently need. But when I think about the next camera that I'm going to get, which, if there is like a 6K camera, that's all I honestly really need, because I still plan on exporting all of my videos in 4K for the next number of years, even if I upgrade to an 8K camera, just because, the extra resolution, you can either do stabilization, do digital punch-ins, or just like this, the downsampled footage will just look cleaner on its own. So I still see myself exporting in 4K for a really long time, but I might mix 6K or 8K into my workflow at some point. So having a computer that, can basically handle that in the future is what I was thinking, because otherwise there is no need for me to upgrade right now if I was thinking just 4K video, because the MacBook that I have has been working fine for it. But in any case, I want to talk about the reason why I decided to pull the trigger on the new MacBooks, or the MacBook Pros, I should say. So basically, when I added the MacBook to my cart, it showed me this screen where it showed the essentials. And so I was looking at AppleCare Plus. So I've had AppleCare Plus on my last MacBook. I didn't really use it. I replaced my keyboard because I had an issue with the butterfly keyboard. So they replaced that at no charge. So I guess that was a use out of the AppleCare. But other than that, I didn't really use it while I was in my terms. But I noticed something that I had never seen before, and that is the annual coverage, which is $99 a year versus the $279. So the $279 gives you 3 years of AppleCare coverage, which is basically your insurance that covers you against physical damage or manufacturer damage. So if it's damage that you cause, obviously you pay a deductible. If it's just manufacturer stuff, they service it. So it's an extended warranty essentially. So basically, when I saw this thing that I didn't recognize, I looked into it a little more, and basically the $99 a year, which would be, $300 for 3 years. So you're like, what's the difference? Is that you can keep this plan going beyond 3 years, which means like, it was kind of a big deal, or kind of a light bulb that went off in my head when I saw this, because, my MacBook has been going for 5 years now. And there's a couple of issues that I have with it. So I want to show you a couple of them. So number one, if you can barely see this in the video, but there is a little bit of burn-in with the LCD screen of my Mac. So you can only really notice it when you're on like a really bright or white screen, but you might notice like the patches of blue all around. And that's just basically burn into the LCD. I mean, I've been using this very heavily over the past 5 years. So, there's just a little bit of wear on that screen. Now, the second issue that I have with the computer is the hinges are loose. So this is something that if I were to take the MacBook apart, I could tighten the hinges, and it would fix this. And if I were to do that, I might as well just replace the screen. But this is the other physical problem. The third physical problem is just a problem that I didn't really know was a problem at first, but I saw somebody's tweet that basically was talking about how the 2016 MacBooks had bad USB-C ports, where they were kind of like loose ports, so they weren't like super secure compared to like newer models. So after I saw that, I did kind of notice like, yeah, these ports are a little bit loose, but that's not as big of an issue. Then the last issue that I have is a little bit of a hit in performance, just because I updated my Final Cut, which was a big mistake, because I was trying to fix a weird issue I was having, but the problem was the latest version, at least, this is speculation. I'm assuming that the latest version is more optimized for the M1 platform and doesn't really care as much about, the lesser optimization for Intel-based MacBooks. So I think it's a little bit of planned obsolescence there, because I didn't change my footage at all. So I've been editing the same footage, but there has been a little bit more stuttering in my timeline as I've been editing. So I think it's just a little bit of planned obsolescence there. It's not a huge deal in terms of like me being able to do the editing, but like the performance has taken a little bit of a hit. But other than that, the computer's been going strong for 5 years, and I think that it could go for another number of years even, depending on what your needs are. Like if you were just needing to edit 4K footage, this computer still works fine. Going beyond that, I don't think it would necessarily be so. So in any case, when I look at a MacBook, I see it as a long-term computer. So I'm not thinking about changing out the computer in 2 years or 3 years. I'm looking at least like 5 years. And so this insurance option of now being able to basically safeguard or have that parachute that like guarantees that the computer will last, a number of years, to me makes $4,000 for a computer a steal. Because let me talk about a little bit more, just, to not get your hopes up, because this isn't like an indefinite amount of insurance. Like you can't keep this going till, 2032 and still expect it to hold. So basically, before I pulled the trigger, I looked into more of the details. And so if you look at the terms of AppleCare Plus for Mac, if you're looking at the annual plan, so they say that they will send you a letter within 60 days of notice to let you know that they can no longer offer you the insurance for your Mac because of a lack of parts for servicing. So basically, if you have a screen for your Mac and they no longer carry those because they're like, this is obsolete, we're not carrying these in 2032, they're not going to be able to service your computer because they're not going to have the replacement screens. And so once that happens, they're going to send you a letter saying like, hey, we don't have parts for this anymore. We can't do the insurance, so we're canceling this. So when you see this, you think like, okay, so I'm really not guaranteed anything then if it says that they can give you just 60 days notice to cancel it. However, I looked up how long one could expect parts for Apple computers to be available. And on Apple's website, again, they allow you to know. And so according to their website, I think like some of this is like by law. I didn't look too deeply into it, but they're saying like, oh, some countries require even longer servicing. However, for Macs, basically, you will be guaranteed service parts for at least 5 years after the product is last sold. So what this means is, since these MacBook Pros were just released, if they come out with a new version of the MacBook Pros a year from now, that means that you have at least 6 years of service parts being available. And that's assuming that the next year MacBook Pros would have like a meaningful change to not just like, oh, we upgraded the chip, but like, oh, we changed how the screen is, like it doesn't have the notch anymore, or we changed, the battery structure to something weird. So basically you're looking at a minimum of like, just shy of 6 years if they release a new MacBook Pro next year. So when you combine, this information with the terms of the AppleCare Plus terms, you're looking at a really long time that you can keep your insurance going, which for me is a big deal. Because like I said, with my last MacBook, I've had it for 5 years, and the only issues that I've had again were the hinge and then the screen burn in. So besides that, and then I like I said, the USB-C ports, but besides that, like if I had this insurance plan on that MacBook, I could take that into the Apple Store and I could just get the entire screen replaced, and then the hinges would be fixed, no problem. And then this would be a brand new condition computer because it literally looks pretty brand new except for the inside screen part and that hinge wobble. So that really pushed me over the edge into getting this MacBook Pro. So I decided to top out and get as good a specs as I could that were reasonable, because one of the things to keep in mind is that there is a price difference between the 14-inch and the 16-inch in terms of the AppleCare Plus. So the 14-inch is $99 a year, and the 16-inch is $150 a year. So basically, if you were to do this for 5 years, you'd be paying an extra $250 in the AppleCare Plus, in addition to the extra, I think, $200 for the screen itself. So, it actually saves me even more money to go with the 14-inch version, and I also get to deal with a smaller, more portable machine that I can take with me anywhere. So when you think about like so my build was 4,100, and if I keep this going for 5 years, so it'll be 4,600 total. It's really not that absurd of a price when I get the giant upgrade in performance now, and then I'll continue to have the great performance as my equipment upgrades alongside it. Because if I get a Sony A1, people are editing A1 footage on this computer right now, and it's handling like a dream for them. It's handling better than a Mac Pro, with the Afterburner and all that stuff is. So when that is like when that's like the biggest upgrade I can think of, even like long term, I know how much this computer is going to basically come in handy for me and be of use for me for the long term. And so this insurance plan, the AppleCare Plus, and just having that peace of mind really just kind of seals the deal. Because let's say that you didn't have a computer at all right now and you're looking for something to edit 4K on. With a laptop, I think you're probably looking at least like 1500 or so for a laptop that could do 4K editing. If you're going used, you could probably find better options with like the better graphics cards, but I would assume you'd probably at least want like a NVIDIA RTX 20 series, like a Max Q in the laptop if you're trying to edit 4K video, like, you know, meaningfully. I could be wrong. I know that if you also build a desktop, I mean, assuming you could get your parts for all retail, you could obviously save the price. But considering I can get like basically top of the line performance now in a form factor that I can take with me anywhere, that's got a great battery and great charging and all that good stuff, um, I think that 4 grand is actually a steal compared to the other options out there right now. Like right now for work, I use a Windows laptop that has an RTX 3080. I don't know if it's a Ti, I forget. And then it's got an i9 or i7, 10 series. Like it was like a top of the line, Windows, NVIDIA Max Q notebook, like within this past year or so. I think it was in the beginning of the year. And that was probably about 3 grand or something like that. So kind of going from like the 3 grand to the 4 grand, and considering how much more editing power I can get out of this versus, this computer, which, if you're running like streaming applications or gaming and stuff like that, obviously this one's going to be better than the MacBook for that. But for video editing, that's what I basically use my Mac for, is video production. So if you aren't a video producer, I mean, like I've even seen like photographers being able to take really great advantage of the M1 Pro and M1 Max's power. I think that the M1 Pro becomes, I think that the differences between the Max and the Pro become smaller. So you could actually go with a more affordable MacBook model, because you don't need to max out like I did. Like I went super hard on my configuration, but you can get the baseline configuration and it'll still be a really gnarly computer. So, it kind of depends on what your uses are. So for me, I am a video editor and I'm somebody who likes to, like, I don't mind spending more money on something if I know I get a lasting value out of it. I don't want to jump around from product to product and like, worry about selling last year's model to get the new model and then continue down that line. So if I can do that less, then I'm happy. So like with my last MacBook, I've been happy to use it for the past 5 years. And like I said, I plan on using this for at least 5 years as well. So when you consider, based on like my track record, at least for how often I upgrade my Windows computers versus my Macs, I do keep my Macs longer. And so when you consider like over the course of 5 or 6 years, let's say that you replaced your Windows computer once, if you're getting like, let's say you get a $2,000 Windows computer now, and then, 5 years from now, you're trying to get another really powerful Windows computer, you're probably looking at a couple of grand again. And so that price difference of like, let's say 2,000 per Windows laptop, 4 grand total versus 4,600 for the MacBook. And then me having that benefit right now, that's what pushed me over the edge to pulling the trigger. So it's something to consider. I know I know why people haven't really talked about it in videos, because it's not like a sexy, like, let me show you a demo of this product. But for me, like, and I think a lot of people kind of see themselves as getting a MacBook. They see it like, oh, it's an investment, and they want to have it for the long term. And I think that this AppleCare Plus new option, and I don't know if this option's available for, like, the annual option is available for other products like this. I don't think they have it for their phones, for example, but for this, it's just such a crazy value to me that it was kind of a no-brainer to add that on. And so if you weren't aware of it, now you are. And so like maybe this doesn't push you over the edge into buying a Mac yourself, or maybe it doesn't change your buying behavior. Maybe you were going to buy one. It's not going to change like the configuration you get, but it's still something I would consider adding on, because you can cancel at any time. It's $99 a year. So if you cancel after, before the first year is up, you've paid the $99 just in case you don't, don't want to tempt fate within the first year of ownership. You could just get that 1 year rather than the original version, which is the all or nothing $279 for 3 years or nothing. Now you can say, oh, I only want like a year or two just to make sure it covers me for like the initial time, and then I'm okay. For me, I want to keep this going as much as possible, because I take care of my stuff. And so the only problems I would foresee happening with this computer are basically just wear and tear over time, like my last MacBook, like the hinge and the burn-in. So with this, I'll be covered for that, which, brings me a lot of peace of mind, and that's why I didn't have an issue getting this. So in any case, I know this video has been a lot longer than I thought. This is what happens if I go off script. I kind of ramble a little bit, so I apologize, but I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like. It helps with the algorithm, helps get more views, and helps support this channel if you do so. I appreciate you. And be sure to check out my YouTube channel for more videos on tech, on content creation, and other stuff. So once again, my name is Steggy, and until my next video, I'll catch you guys later.